Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. It's that time. I'm going to do some college football reactions to some of the games that just happened this past weekend for college football week 12. We had some really good top 25, these top 25 matchups. There was some shaking up within the top 25. Some teams that were favored went down. Some underdogs pulled off the upsets. We're going to break down some of the initial big games that stood out to us from our top 25 games this past weekend. First things first, though, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below. Was it what you expected? Was there any surprises? Let us know in the comment section. I will respond to every single comment. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, check out the pinned comment down below. Click on that link, sign up there, and I would definitely appreciate it. When I was talking about the top 25, there was a lot of shaking up. So obviously, when the new poll comes out this coming Tuesday, there's going to be some changes. We have some teams that were in the top 10 that went down, some teams that were just outside of it that are going to be moving into the top 10. These games are starting to mean a whole lot more. Don't forget, we're getting closer to the playoffs. This was just week 12. There's only 2 weekends left, only 2 weeks left of the entire regular season. These teams need to separate themselves right now. And there's kind of a bottleneck, from 17 all the way down to one of who's going to make that final 12, who's going to be the representative from the group of five, who's going to be the highest ranked top five conference champions. It keeps circling around. We get different teams stepping up, some are stepping down. These games mean a lot. You have to win these games. Who stepped up to the moment and who kind of faltered in this time? Let's take a look at it. Notre Dame fighting Irish on the road, defeating number 22, the Pitt Panthers. Some people had Pitt actually coming in here and pulling off the upset at the home. We didn't think that was going to happen. Notre Dame, they're just rolling right now. They're the number 9 team in the country. They have 2 losses, yes, but it is to 2 ranked teams since they've dropped those games. The game week 1, week 2, they've been rolling. The offense has been on a tear. They have a top 15 offense right now. The defense started out the season really slow. Since about week 3, week 4, they're looking like the defense from last season. There's really no flaws on the team. The quarterback, the veteran wide receiver core, probably the best 1-2 running back combo in the nation. Jeremiah Love, Price, they can run it on anyone. They have a great offensive line, great defensive front seven. But we're going to break down the final score here. The Irish beating Pitt 37-15, and we'll give our instant reaction. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below. What are your thoughts on these games? Was it what you thought? Were you kind of surprised with the outcome? Let us know in the comment section. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, check out that pinned comment below. And as always, thanks for watching. So obviously, up on the screen, Notre Dame 37-15. One thing that we do have to say, it was technically 37-9. Pitt did score a touchdown at the very end to end the game. Kind of padded the stats just a little bit, but no matter what, it was a complete owning from the first possession. The Irish were obviously head and shoulders above the Pitt Panthers. Narduzzi, got to give him props. Seems like a cool guy here, but there was a massive talent gap. They threw everything they in, but they had a young freshman quarterback up against this Irish defense, and they were coming after him the entire game. He was under consistent and constant pressure. Looking at the team stats here, you had the Irish coming in at 387 yards, Pitt 219, but a lot of that was on that final drive. Garbage time, all the backups were in for the Irish. Passing wise, the Irish 212 yards, Pitt 149. This was a very pass heavy Pitt Panthers team. Give the Notre Dame Irish secondary a lot of credit. They held it down. They were on lockdown the entire game, only giving up 3.8 yards per pass. Basically, Pitt couldn't get the ball vertically down the field beyond the line of scrimmage practically. Rushing, you knew this is where the Irish were going to dominate. 175 yards on the ground, Pitt 70 yards. Penalties, the Irish did have a lot of penalties, but it didn't hold them back. Time of possession, 35 minutes and 17 seconds, owning the time of possession. Carr continued to play well, had a couple turnovers. This game kind of held them back. Love, another 100-yard game, 147 on the ground. Fields with 99 yards, just shy of 100. You have to respect this Pitt Panthers offense and what the Irish did to them. They came into this game top 15 offense in the nation, scoring 39.7 points a game, throwing for 303 yards per game. They were not even able to get half of that this game, and they completely shut down that high-scoring offense in Pittsburgh. So give the Irish credit here. Freeman has a great team going on right now. They are prepared for every game. Denbrock, Ash, they have a good coaching staff. They have a talented team. They got the young quarterback. They have veterans at every single other position on the offensive side. This team, will they rise up here? I could definitely see them, but they're starting to creep up on undefeated one-loss team. So will it really jump them? I don't see that happening. But I said since the week 2 loss to the Aggies, as long as they win out, they will be in the playoffs. And looks like they're probably going to be winning out from this point forward. This was really your last tough test on the schedule, and you completely obliterated the Panthers. Give them some props. Notre Dame, they are a stamp in for the playoffs as of right now, unless they drop the ball. But it's a fun thing to watch. They were the runner-up to the national championships last season. They might be getting back there again. So it all went down yesterday. Number 10, Texas Longhorns, they dropped the game to number 5, the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia right now, 9-1, Texas 7-3, losing this one 35-10. Basically, if you just look at that final score, basically a complete drubbing, a complete beatdown by Kirby Smart's team, obviously cementing himself at the top of the head coaching rankings right now. Look at team stats there on the screen. You had Georgia coming in here with 357 total yards, Texas 274. I've been saying for basically weeks now, Texas's biggest issue, they are not consistent running the ball. When you can't run the ball, you might be able to beat the Kentuckys. You might be able to beat the Mississippi States, but as the competition gets more difficult, when you're playing better front sevens and they can get pressure on the quarterback, if you can't run the ball, which is a quarterback's best friend, you're going to struggle to vertically push the ball down the field. The rushing game opens up the play action. It all works like a circle. They go hand in hand. Texas was not able to run the ball today. Rushing yards, only had 23 rushing yards today, 251 through the air. Georgia, 229 through the air, 128 on the ground. And this was one of Gunnar Stockton's coming out party. Some people are starting to put himself in the Heisman conversation right now. He had 229 total passing yards, 24 of 29. He was efficient, 4 passing touchdowns. Arch Manning under pressure the entire game. You know the game's not going well when they threw 43 times. Texas didn't want to come in here and throw close to 50 times. That's not a recipe for success. Arch 27 of 43, 251 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Looking at the running back situation, only 23 total yards rushing. That's just not good enough. They have the Aggies left over. Kirk Herbstreit during the game, he was trying to cement a reason of how Texas can still make the playoffs. Personally, I don't see it, and I do not think a 3-loss team should make the playoffs when there's so many good 2-loss teams, 1-loss teams, and really, Texas hasn't really done anything this season. I know, people will say that they beat Vanderbilt, and they have a couple decent wins under their belt, but overall, not an impressive performance. They went to overtime, versus Mississippi State, versus Kentucky. They lost to Florida. Those are not good games. Those have to kind of get you. If you want credit for the wins, you also have to take the bludgeoning for the losses. Georgia's only game, very close loss to Alabama. Georgia's obviously going to be moving up to that number 4 spot in the college football playoff when that comes out Tuesday. How far is Texas going to drop? What do you guys think? Leave it in the comment section. Do you think they're going to get kicked out of the top 10? Looking at some people's AP polls that they submitted, some people had them dropping like number 9 or 10, which I think is ridiculous personally, especially since they're 10. Well, actually, some people had them staying at number 10, which makes no sense to me. Some people dropped in 12. No, they need to drop way beyond that. They can't be above teams like Miami, Utah. They have solid overall resumes. You have to penalize Texas here. 7-3, 1-7 versus top 10 teams under Steve Sarkisian. At some point, he's going to have to get that right. Overall, though, everything is still in front of Texas. Yes, they still have the Aggies, and they still have a shot to finish with a 9-3 regular season record. But is that really going to happen? It's going to be very tough for them. They have to figure out the rush game, and there's only 2 games left, so they're running out of time. But this game wasn't as much about Texas as it was about the Georgia Bulldogs. Kirby Smart, Bobo calling a pretty good game, being aggressive, going for it on 4th downs, the onside kick. That was the stuff of legend. That's what Georgia hasn't been doing this season. They haven't been aggressive. They were definitely aggressive today, kept their foot on the gas. They owned this game. They dominated on both lines of scrimmage. That's where the games are won in the SEC, is at the line of scrimmage in the trenches. Georgia right now, they might be making the SEC championship. It really doesn't matter if you make the SEC championship or not. I know a lot of people want to win the conference, but as long as you get in the playoffs, last year showed every single conference champ lost. Just make the party, and Georgia's definitely going to be able to do that. Even if they lose to Georgia Tech, worst case scenario, they're still in the playoffs. So obviously the Trojans, they won this game 26-21. The big news here, Iowa was up 21-10 at halftime. Trojans were looking like they might get blown out at home. They shut the Hawkeyes out at their home stadium, and they ended up dominating the second half, scoring 16 second half points, winning this one 26-21. It's what they were able to do in the trenches at the line of scrimmage. Kirk Ferentz, longest tenured coach in the country. Yes, his offense is a complete joke. It's from 1930. But every single season, the guy is going to have a top 10 defense. They're going to be elite at special teams, kicking. They play small ball. They excel at that. They force you to slow the game down, play their style of football. They have 8 to 10 minute possessions every time they have to touch the ball. Whenever you have a position, you got to make the most of it because you might not see the ball the rest of that entire quarter. But USC was able to win in the trenches. That's what set this difference. They brought the game plan they had versus Michigan, dominated at the line of scrimmage, not the Illinois game. USC has shown some highs. They've shown some lows. I actually picked the Trojans to win this one. We almost hit the final score on the head. We had USC winning 24-20. I was talking to one of my friends before the game, and he thought the Hawkeyes were going to win. He said, look, it's rainy. It's going to be hard to throw the ball. It's going to be a physical, muddy game. All of that leans to Iowa's favor. And I said, yeah, you are definitely right. But still, I'm going with the USC Trojans to win it. I was feeling that USC was going to bring that Michigan game plan. Whenever USC plays a team that's not physical, that's when they get gashed. When they play the physical teams this season, they've been stepping up in those games. They've been bringing their A game. Right now, they are 8-2. If they win out this season, they're going to be in the playoffs. Yes, they have to go through Oregon, but the fact that they are even in the discussion shows that Lincoln Riley has this team on the right trajectory. They have the number 1 recruiting class coming in next season. Let's look at the team stats. Let's see just how good USC done. Total yards, they won the yards battle 360 to 320. Mayava, 254 yards passing. They ran for 106 on a very physical rush defense. Time of possession, obviously Iowa owned that. That's what they do. 30 minutes and 44 seconds to 29 minutes and 16 seconds. Obviously very close. Mayava continues to impress throwing the ball. He was 23 of 32. Miller had a great game. Jackson had a great game. USC's toed up at running back, but we all know what USC's really good at. Their elite wide receiver core. They might have the best 1-2 combo in the nation. Lane with another crazy game. 153 yards. Lane backing him up at 65. Whenever they needed those third and long situations, you know Mayaba was looking for Lemon. If it's not Lemon, he's looking for Lane. Either way, you can't go wrong with either one of those guys. These teams are excellent at what they do. Great football so far. It was a really fun game to watch. It was good to see Lincoln Riley doing what he does best, excelling at the offensive scheme. He is the best offensive mind coach, in my personal opinion, in all of college football. And how about D'Anton Lynn with that defense, shutting down that physical Iowa rush attack second half, shutting them completely out and giving them time for that offense to slowly chip away, work their way back. So yesterday we had the NC State Wolfpack 5-5 visiting number 15. The Miami Hurricanes are now 8-2. Miami won this one 41-7. This game was really only close at kickoff. That's about it. The Hurricanes, they finally got off to a little more of a quicker start than they were used to. Don't forget the last couple of games, they haven't scored to the very end of the first half, late second quarter. That wasn't the case. They got 10 points first quarter, 14 second, 10 third, 7 fourth. That was with the missed field goal. They had all the backups in fourth quarter, and they went all the way down to their third string quarterback. Everybody got some snaps yesterday. A dominating performance. I know they have wins versus USF. I know they have a win versus Florida, Notre Dame. Notre Dame being their greatest win so far this season. But I honestly think, call me crazy here, but I think this was the most complete performance and the best the Miami Hurricanes have looked this entire season. Fletcher's banged up. He didn't get the start. CJ Daniels didn't get the start. Scott, Frederick, they were down a lot of their starters. But with Pringle coming in, starting as the running back, he went off this game. He had like 150 total yards, 116 rushing, completely opened up this offense. Since that loss to SMU, I don't know if maybe Mario Cristobal was hamstringing Shannon Dawson, wanting to slow the game down, play time of possession. They finally got back to the type of offense they were showing last year, spreading people out, going vertical, running sideline to sideline, no more constant inside zone running. This looked like a complete Miami team. They have speed, they have playmakers. They were using them to their advantage here. Give the ball to the playmakers. Give it to them in space. This is the type of offense people want to see. And you actually got to see Carson Beck excel in this offense. This is the Cam Ward offense. That's why he came to Miami. Miami, 581 total yards of offense, the most they've had in a game since 2020. NC State only 143 yards. Like 60 of those yards were the very final drive for NC State. Miami held them under 100 yards. They didn't even cross the 50-yard line till their very final possession of the entire game. Hurricanes threw for 367. They ran for 214. Complete performance. The offensive line looked great. The defensive front seven, they had CJ Bailey under pressure the entire game. NC State only threw for 120. This was a team throwing for about 315 yards every single game. Not on Miami's secondary, not with that defensive front seven putting constant pressure on him. They created 2 turnovers, both by Thomas. What a great game for him. He had a pick. He had a pick 6 as well. They were picking the ball off. Kalen Marion, since he's had the starts here filling in for CJ Daniels, he's been perfect. They have everyone getting reps here. Pringle, Brown, Humphrey, 45 yards on the ground, Marion Moore, and of course the MVP of the Hurricanes, especially on offense, has been Malachi Toney, the true freshman, doing a little bit of everything, even a 44-yard pass. What a performance from this team. Now, with Miami being number 15 right now, Where do we think this is going to put them in the polls? I was honestly living last week that Miami's still that far from Notre Dame, but the fact that they're behind Vanderbilt, what has Vanderbilt done this season? They've done nothing. They beat Missouri, who's not even currently in the top 25. No ranked wins to their credit, and Miami has the head-to-head win versus Notre Dame. I need to see Miami at least move up to number 13 here. Yes, they're probably not making the ACC championship. They still have a shot for the playoffs. What a game for the Hurricanes. This is the way you want to see Miami finish this season. You have a cupcake game coming up this weekend versus Virginia Tech, then the big one versus Pitt. Close out there 10-2, legit shot to make the playoffs. Jump right into it. So it all happened this past Saturday, obviously happened yesterday. Number 11 Oklahoma Sooners, they beat number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide 23-21. That really doesn't give full justification to what happened this game. Oklahoma completely dominated this game at the line of scrimmage, in the trenches, more importantly, with the front seven. Their offense was getting absolutely zero movement, basically. They couldn't generate anything through the air, generate anything on the ground. Bama basically doubled them up on total yardage, still lost the game. They played sloppy. They made a lot of mistakes. Oklahoma was able to capitalize on that mistake. But you also have to give the Sooners credit. The Sooners were able to create pressure, create havoc in the backfield, force some turnovers. They created the turnovers, and Alabama was more than willing to give them up. Obviously, first downs at Oklahoma 12, Alabama 23, twice as many first downs. Total yardage here, looking at total yardage for the game, the Sooners only had 212 yards. If you would have told me a team generated 212 yards on the road versus the Alabama Crimson Tide, I'd have said that they lost the game. They didn't lose the game. Bama 406 yards, practically doubling them up on total yardage. Completely bad. Bama even owned the time of possession, 34 minutes and 28 seconds to 25 minutes, 32 seconds. Bama threw for 326. They ran for 80. The Sooners threw for 138 and ran for only 74. I've been very critical on the Sooners rushing attack. They have virtually zero rushing attack. The wide receivers dropped too many balls. The game is completely on John Mateer's shoulders every single week. He's like 75% of this team's offense. But they got the win. That's all that matters. They walked away with the win. They still have playoff hopes right now. Going into the back end of their schedule, where there's an easier slate right now, they could easily make the playoffs this season. Alabama, 8-2. Yes, they have a cupcake game coming up this weekend, but it's all going to come down to Auburn Tigers at Auburn. I think they won the last two by like a total of 5 points total overall when you combine the victory margin for both those games. It's going to be a tough game. Yes, Hugh Freeze has been fired, but you know the hatred between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers. Auburn would love to kick Alabama out of playoff contention. Bama would love to beat Auburn, keep the playoff hopes alive. 10-2 Alabama, you guys are making the playoffs. Kalen DeBoer here. Got to get this offense back on track. The entire game, Ty Simpson looked completely starstruck at what was going on. Didn't have a bad overall game stats-wise. Threw for 326, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, which is actually only his second pick of the entire season. But they couldn't get the run game going. If you can't run the ball, I've been saying for weeks now, you might be able to get by some of the garbage teams in the SEC. But if you can't run the ball down the stretch, especially in the SEC championship, the playoffs, you're not going to get very far. Bama couldn't run the ball, couldn't establish. They couldn't run the ball this season playing bad defenses, let alone Oklahoma coming in with a top 10 overall national defense, only giving up 12 points per game, getting after it. And that front seven have to give them so much credit. John Mateer, 15-23. He didn't have to do much through the air, though. 138 yards. He ran for 23 yards. Oklahoma couldn't generate any run game. They haven't been able to run this entire season. Neither has Alabama, but they didn't have to because Bama kept giving turnovers, and Oklahoma was more than willing to take those turnover hopes away. So obviously, a big momentum swing. You are going to have Oklahoma moving into the top 10. Where will they fall? Maybe 7 or 8. It is going to be tough because a lot of those teams are kind of logjam up in there. But obviously, you are going to have Alabama dropping down. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alabama anywhere from 10 to 12 right now. I don't think they're going to push them out of the top 12. They only have 2 losses, and they have some solid wins overall. Everything is still in front of both these teams. If both these teams will out, they'll be in the playoffs anyways. Won't really matter that much. But Alabama, they had a shot at the SEC championship. But just like Lane Kiffin said last year, do you really even want to play the SEC championship anyways and get the bye week, get completely thrown off by being off? Everyone who won their conference last year actually ended up losing their first game in the playoffs. So sometimes it came back to maybe this will fire Bam up. I don't know. Kalen DeBoer, He kind of drops some of these games a couple times per season, but overall, everything's in front of Alabama. They have a great team, nothing to worry about. Crazy game. Don't forget, this is a game. The Aggies heavy favorites in here coming in. Some people complaining that they were not the number 1 or number 2 team. I've been saying for weeks now. This is a very good team. Mike Elko, disciplined coach, solid team. I have massive questions about their defense so far. A lot of people didn't want to hear it. Well, they gave up 30 points second half. Yes, they shut out the Gamecocks second half of the game, but they squeaked by this game. This was not a good performance, but a solid momentum win. They were able to fight their way back, showed a lot of heart. They scored, 28 second half points, able to recapture the lead, able to hold on at the end. Sellers, showed some high moments, showed some low moments. I said when last season ended, not the most accurate passer of the football. He has the arm strength, he has the size, he has the legs, but when it comes to hitting the touch passes, I don't necessarily think he has it so far. He missed a couple wide open guys. That might be one of the worst offensive lines in the country, but we're just going to react to this game. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below. What are your thoughts on this game? Are you pleased with it? Were you upset with it? What side of the spectrum were you on? Anyways, the Aggies win this one 31-30. Here on ESPN, we have the overall stats. Marcel Reed, awful first half. He stormed back second half. As a team, they had over 500 yards. He threw for 439. Owens only 28 yards. The Gamecocks, solid defensive front seven. They were able to take the rush game away from the Aggies, force them into third and long situations, hurt them first half, but definitely they were able to adapt the gameplay, storm back second half. Sellers, 246 yards, 15 of 30, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Harbor, some massive catches, especially with that 70 or 80-yard touchdown he had, finished with 102, banged up the entire game. He stayed in there, fought in it. The Gamecocks, 385 total yards. The Aggies, 506 yards, but it's what they did with that vertical passing game. But for those of you who think the Aggies have a good defense, let me kind of put things into spectrum here. The Gamecocks came into this game. They just fired the offensive coordinator because he was god-awful. They were only averaging 19.7 points a game coming in here. One of the worst offenses in the country. They were ranked in the 120s in the entire nation out of 134 teams. One of the god-awful worst offenses in the country, and they were able to score at will first half. But you have to give the Aggies credit fighting back. The Aggies have given up a couple 30-point games this season, one 40-point game. There's some teams not saying that the Buckeyes have had a difficult schedule, but they're only giving up 6.9 points per game. That's why they're number 1. That's why the Indiana Hoosiers are number 2. And this is why the Aggies are 3. Not saying they can't win the national championship. This is a very talented roster. Top 10 overall roster in the nation. And they have pieces at every single position. With that wide receiver combo, Craver, Concepcion, they can shoot it out with anyone. But you can't have another performance like this one versus a good team. The Gamecocks, they're 3-6. They're not going to be going to a bowl game more than likely this season. You beat them. You hung on, but I've said a couple times, some of these teams, they have games like this. The Hoosiers had it last week versus Penn State, although Penn State's still a much better roster than the Gamecocks. But all that matters is that you get the W. That's all that matters. The Aggies stayed undefeated in the SEC. They're 10-0. They're moving on. They're going to be going up against Texas that final week of the season. That's going to be a huge game. Could potentially be top 10. We don't know what's going to happen to the Longhorns tonight. Doesn't matter, though. The Aggies continue to stay in front in the SEC. I did not see anything here that means that they're going to be dropping down to number 4. They better not drop behind Alabama. That is not necessary. Bama still has that loss to Florida State. That's a very bad loss. The Aggies, they're still the cream of the crop. They're still at the top of the SEC. So, guys, that's just our initial reaction to some of the big games that stood out to us from our top 25 matchups this weekend. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on these games. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, check out that pinned comment below. And as always, thanks for watching.